Welcome back. The 2019 UN Climate Change Conference begins tomorrow in Madrid amid sobering new studies on the effects and acceleration of global warming. In one study, the old projections of flooding at high tide by the year 2050, in this case in southern Vietnam, were updated to look more like this. And there's a lot more water there than southern Vietnam, with virtually the entire area underwater now by 2050. Here in the U.S., an organization of scientists, politicians, and yes, celebrities called World War Zero hopes to spark millions of conversations about global warming in the next year and create more urgency on the issue. Joining me now from Los Angeles are two founding members, former Senator and Secretary of State, Democrat John Kerry, who created the group, and former California Governor, sometime Republican, Arnold Schwarzenegger. I say sometime. I'll let you, Governor, tell me these days where you are with the party. But gentlemen, welcome back to Meet the Press. Secretary Kerry, let me start with this question. I'm going to be a bit of a cynic here. But you go out of your way to say you're not backing a single climate plan with World War Zero. This is about creating more attention to the issue. Is attention to the issue really the issue right now? This feels like a 10-year-ago problem. The issue right now is convincing a certain president of the United States to act.
Well, it's not just the president, Chuck. There are great efforts out there, many environmental groups, young people particularly, but no country is getting the job done. I mean, the simple reality is that we are way behind the eight ball. Things are getting worse, not better. And so we have our unlikely allies coming together here. There's no group that has people as diverse as ours in terms of nationality, age, gender, ideology, background, life experience, and all of these people have come together saying, we've got to treat this like a war. I mean, it has to require decision-making and organization and efforts that are just not taking place. And so we have people across ideologies. I mean, you have former Treasury Secretary Hank Paulson, you have former Governor of Ohio, John Kasich, you have Arnold, you have a lot of people on the other side of the aisle who've all come together without saying this is the only way to get there, but with the desire to make certain that in America and around the world, people are going to put this issue way up at the top of the list. We're going to do the things we need to do. We're going to organize. We're going to mobilize. We're going to talk to literally millions of Americans over the course of the next months, and this is going to become a primary issue.
Governor Schwarzenegger, I mean, what does more to sort of focus people's attention to this issue? A town hall, or the fact that you look at your state. I mean, the wildfires are worse, and there's probably nothing right now you can do about it.
Well, we are very happy and very proud of what we have done here in California, and I think we are perfect proof that you can protect the environment and also protect the economy at the same time, because we have the strictest environmental laws here in California, and at the same time we are the #1 economically, way ahead of the United States. Our average growth is around 3.6%, where the United States growth is around 2%. And we create more jobs, millions of jobs, since we have passed those laws. So you can see that we can do both. We're the 5th largest economy in the world, right behind China, Germany, and Japan, and the United States. So that just shows you the power that we have by going green and the kind of jobs we created. And I think that's what we want to do. We want the whole United States go in that direction, the whole world to go in that direction. And I'm very, very happy that I've joined up here with John, because John has been a longtime friend of mine, and I've always admired his passion about a clean environment and about, bringing both parties together. I mean, he negotiated with Lindsey Graham for years, a great deal that was almost about to happen. And so I think that we're working together on this, and I think that it is a great idea to bring Republicans and Democrats together. And of course, I'm a fanatic about communication, which is a whole other issue.
Chuck,
Secretary, tell me, so for instance, walk me through what a town hall is going to look like in West Virginia when you're in coal country.
Well, I really look forward to that, actually, because there are just huge economic opportunities for West Virginia that are not being utilized. There is.
What if the people don't want it? Isn't that been the problem?
Well, I think you have to give people a choice, Chuck. Yeah. They're not even being given a choice right now. I mean, you said, are we going to back one plan? The answer is yes, there is one plan, and that plan is to get to net zero emissions by 2045 or 2050. Now, how we get there, there are a lot of different ideas out there. But the important thing is that that's not happening now. I mean, it's embarrassing that in the Democratic presidential debates, you had a whole bunch of debates in which there wasn't one question on climate change. And climate change is I mean, we have a lot of young activists.
It's a bit overwhelming. It's a bit overwhelming, Secretary. I mean, look, the debate I participated in, we asked quite a bit on climate change, but it's hard to bite off. And I think that's part of the struggle here, is that it's so overwhelming. How do you tackle it one piece at a time?
In fact, Chuck, it's not. It shouldn't be overwhelming, and that's why Arnold and I and a whole bunch of people. You know, there's a young woman who's taken 2 years off from going to Stanford. Her name is Katie Eater, and she's been part of the climate strikes and the Future Coalition. And she said collaboration is the key to our survival. Young people get it. They understand what this is about, but they don't have a vote in the boardroom. They don't have a vote in Congress. They don't have stock in the fossil fuel companies. And the fact is that there are a huge number of jobs to be created here. Fastest growing job in America today is solar power technician. Second fastest, wind technician. I mean, coal is going down because the marketplace is making that decision. So what we want to do is say to people, here are the ways in which, take health. Health can be so much improved in the United States. Young people are hospitalized in the United States, and it's costing taxpayers $55 billion a year because of environmentally induced asthma that comes from pollution. So we're talking about reducing pollution. We're talking about creating jobs. We're talking about American security. One of the people who's joined us in this effort is General Stan McChrystal. Right. I mean, there's no greater patriot. Nobody has paid his dues more. We have admirals and generals who are all coming to the table to help make the argument to Americans and to people in the world. This is an international security issue.
Governor,
I totally agree, by the way, with John. I just want to tell you that, for instance, in California, in Bakersfield, where there's a lot of oil drilling going on, there's more solar jobs now in Bakersfield and around that area than there are oil jobs. People are leaving the oil fields and they're going to work on solar and clean energy and stuff like that. So this is the kind of stuff that you can do also with co-workers. So it's just a matter of how do you plan those things. We in California have made a great plan, and we see people now leaving the dirty fuels and coming to clean energy.
And Chuck, I want you to come to that. I want you to come to that town hall.
I would love to come to that town hall.
In West Virginia.
Governor,
we would love to have you there.
Do you ignore President Trump, or do you still try to convince him to change his mind? And would you have that one-on-one meeting?
No. First of all, I totally agree again with John when he said, it's not just one person. We have to convince the whole world. And I think the way to convince the whole world is by not just always talking about climate change, which doesn't mean that much to most of the people. As a matter of fact, we have done a poll through the Schwarzenegger Institute, and you and I have talked about that. When we said climate change, there was like of the conservatives, there were only 17% interested and thought that there was a serious threat. But as soon as we said pollution, the numbers went over 50%. So we got to communicate. The environmental community has to communicate better and talk about pollution, because pollution is a threat right now. And when you introduced this piece, you talked about in 2050. People can't think about 2050. They think about now, how can I survive? How can I provide jobs? How can I go and feed my family? Those are the kind of issues, and that's why it's important that we talk about the health issue. And that's how we have passed all of our strict environmental laws here in California.
Chuck, can I mention one thing?
Secretary,
time?
I am way out of time.
Okay.
You guys were great. I appreciate it. More importantly, I appreciate you got up early on the West Coast. I'm well aware of that on this weekend. So Secretary Kerry, Governor Schwarzenegger, you talked enough where you got out of 2 political questions I was going to sneak on you. So we'll leave that there. Hello from Washington. I'm Chuck Todd, and thanks for checking out the Meet the Press channel on YouTube. Click on the button down here to subscribe, and click over here to watch the latest interviews, highlights, and other digital exclusives.